So, when I was introduced to you and Genutrace, I was like, wow, this is really needed in the marketplace. Like I said, with the other entrepreneurs we've spoken to, they genuinely start their services or their brands or their products from a place of good. And then they start figuring out, well, I want to use this ingredient, but how do I know it's a good ingredient from a good place doing good things for good people, right? And I always like to use that example, when coconut milk came on the market years ago, it got so popular. And then people started finding out how that coconut milk was farmed, not only depleting the environment, but actually using slave monkey labor to get the product from the trees. And people don't know that. So, when we're just talking about the ingredient side, it sounds like you're really dialed into how does that happen? So take us through the process then of what that means to find that accountability, and give that documentation to these companies. How does that work on your side?
Well, a great example is cotton, and it's a product that we all love and know. It's in our t-shirts and jeans and home bedding. And in the last 10 years, it really has gone through a lot of scrutiny, I would say, related to claims that are made, whether it's 100% organic cotton or today it's 100% regenerative cotton, and so on and so forth. And really, the issue is that if you say that this product has 100% or whatever content it is in that product, it's not good enough to just say it, but you actually have to be able to prove that for a fact. And that's really what we do at Genutrace, which is to provide different ways or different technologies to either test the product itself, and say it really is from India or from US, and provide scientific basis and logic for that. And science is important because without having a scientific way to analyze the product, then it's really just he said, she said. The documentation might say it is, but who really knows? And today it's very easy for a consumer actually to go to a place and photograph or capture something that puts in question whether the claim that you're making is in fact true. So, for example, if you're really saying you're using US cotton, then how do you certify that it is? How do you then prove that there's no forced labor or child labor being used to harvest the cotton? So it's multifaceted risks in supply chains and opportunities as well to demonstrate that what you're doing is in fact what you're actually doing. And it seems like a simple thing to say, right? Just prove that what you're saying, what you do is what you're doing, but it's not, because there's not just one party to the transaction and to the production process. There can be 5 or 10 or 15 parties involved in from the beginning, from the cotton that is grown to when it's made into yarn and fabric and to the ultimate finished product before it ships. So, uh, my insight and learning for many years in this area of, um, can you prove it, is really related to the product itself and not just trust the documentation that goes along with it. There needs to be more oversight and accountability related to where products come from, who's behind the products, um, both on the environmental side. Are you even using good dyes or chemistries on the finished product? Even if you can prove it really does come from Pakistan, and then it gets dyed with a finish that isn't good for the skin, that that's also not good for the end user. So there's a lot that goes into either baking a cake or making a T-shirt, or making fine wine. Um, there's multiple variables now at at the that is the responsibility of not just one party in the supply chain. It actually is the responsibility of everyone involved in the supply chain to bring that product to market.
So true, so true. I mean, you could start with like a really beautiful ingredient, like you mentioned, this organic cotton, and then it goes through this process, and perhaps the dyes or the next level of production is really what, degrades the product. And how do you really track that, as a business owner?